The forbidden contact. The battlefield was a desolate wasteland, littered with the charred remains of Barzan soldiers. General Oren stood amidst the carnage, his gaze fixed on the smoke-filled sky. The stench of death and burnt metal filled the air, a bitter reminder of the merciless onslaught they had faced. For millennia, the Galactic Council had forbidden any contact with humans, deeming them the most violent and unpredictable species in the cosmos. But now, watching his people being butchered by the Krill Empire's gene plague and plasma scythes, Oren knew there was no other choice. His heart's heavy with guilt. He whispered a desperate prayer to the universe, hoping that the humans would forgive him for what he was about to do. With a trembling hand, Oren composed a secret message and broadcast it across the stars, directed towards Earth. To the warriors of Terra, I am General Oren of the Barzan Alliance. My people face extinction at the hands of the Krill Empire. Our fleets are ashes, our armies broken. You humans are our final hope. I beg you, send us your mightiest champions, your most lethal soldiers. Help us defeat the Krill, and the Barzans will forever be in your debt. The message was a plea born of desperation, but Oren knew it was the only option left. The humans, though feared and shunned by the galaxy, had a reputation for unmatched ferocity in battle. If anyone could turn the tide of this war, it was them. And so, with a heavy heart, Oren awaited a response, hoping against hope that the humans would answer his call. Days passed in agonizing silence, the battlefield growing colder and more lifeless with each passing moment. Oren's remaining forces were on the brink of collapse when finally a response came. It was brief, a single transmission from an unknown source on Earth. We are coming. The words sent a shiver down Oren's spine. He had heard tales of human warriors, their cold efficiency in battle, their unyielding determination. Now they were coming to fight for his people, to save them from annihilation. But at what cost? As the dropships descended from the heavens, their engines roaring like thunder, Oren could only hope that the price of survival wouldn't be too high. The first human to step onto the battlefield was Commander Warren, a towering figure clad in advanced combat armor. His expression was cold, his eyes gleaming with a predatory light as he surveyed the carnage before him. "We're not here to play nice," Warren said, his voice a low growl. "We're here to exterminate these bugs once and for all." Oren's heart pounded as he watched the humans prepare for battle. They moved with a precision that was almost terrifying, their weapons gleaming with deadly intent. As the dropships plummeted towards the Krill hive, Oren knew that this would be no ordinary battle. The humans had come to wage a war of total annihilation, and there would be no mercy for their enemies. Warren leaped from the cargo hatch of his dropship, the neutron bomb strapped to his back. Oren followed, his mind reeling with the realization of what was about to happen. They hit the hive floor hard, the impact driving the breath from Oren's lungs. Around them, the hive stretched out in a nightmarish labyrinth of pulsing tunnels and oozing walls. The stench of krill pheromones hung thick in the air, a sickening reminder of the horrors they were about to face. The krill drones emerged from the shadows, their mandibles clacking in blind rage. Warren unslung his plasma rifle and opened fire, the searing bolts ripping through the krill with horrifying ease. Oren drew his sidearm, fighting down the revulsion as the krill bodies piled around them. "Cover me!" Warren ordered, his voice steady despite the chaos. He charged towards the Queen's chamber, his plasma sword gleaming with lethal intent. The Queen lunged at him, her scythe-like claws slashing through the air. But Warren was faster, his movements a blur of savage grace as he parried the blows and struck back with inhuman speed. With a final feral roar, Warren brought the plasma sword down in a searing arc, cleaving through the Queen's neck. Her headless carcass crashed to the ground, and Warren raised her dripping head in triumph. The death of the Queen sent shockwaves through the hive, the krill drones twitching and reeling as their connection to the overmind was severed. Warren pulled the neutron bomb from his back and armed it. "Time to end this," he muttered, his voice cold and unfeeling. Oren watched in horror as the bomb detonated, a world-shattering blast that vaporized everything within a 50-kilometer radius. The hive was reduced to a boiling sea of glass, its surface marred by the wind-scoured bones of dead krill. As the dropship angled into orbit, Oren's gaze met Warren's. The human smiled, his teeth gleaming white against his soot-streaked face. Orin didn't answer. He only closed his eyes and prayed that the Galactic Council would never learn what he had unleashed upon the stars. The price of victory. The acrid stench of scorched earth and melted metal hung thick in the air as Commander Warren strode through the rubble-strewn streets of the Barzan capital. His boots crunched over shattered glass and twisted rebar, the devastation a stark reminder of the ferocity of the human assault that had driven out the Krill invaders. Warren's weathered face creased into a frown as he surveyed the ruins. At 53, he'd seen his share of battlefields, but the scale of destruction here was staggering. He pushed aside a twinge of unease. This was war, and war demanded sacrifice. Inside the makeshift command center, once a grand government building now reduced to a gutted shell, Warren hunched over holographic displays depicting Barzan space. Red icons representing human warships swarmed through the sector, securing strategic choke points and resource worlds. "Status report," he barked at a nearby lieutenant. "Sir, we've secured 80% of Barzan territory. Resistance is minimal. Our scout ships have begun probing neighboring systems," the lieutenant replied, his voice steady but tinged with the exhaustion of constant battle. Warren nodded, a predatory gleam in his steel-gray eyes. "Excellent. Prepare for the next phase." Before the lieutenant could respond, the command center door burst open, and General Orin stormed in, flanked by 2 Barzan officers. Orin's face tentacles quivered with agitation as he approached Warren. "Commander Warren, we must speak," Orin said, his translator struggling to convey the urgency in his tone. "Your forces, their methods are too extreme. The collateral damage?" Warren's face hardened. "General, need I remind you that it was your people who begged for our help? We delivered results. The Krill are gone, yes, but at what cost?" Orin gestured wildly. "Entire ecosystem sterilized. Civilian casualties in the millions. Acceptable losses?" Warren cut him off. "Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a war to run." Orin's companions murmured in awe, their eyes fixed on the strategic displays. Warren caught snippets of their conversation. Unprecedented success. Galactic shockwaves. New era of warfare. Orin's face twisted with a mix of anger and dread as he stormed out of the command center. Warren watched him go, a flicker of suspicion igniting in his gut. He'd have to keep a close eye on that one. Days later, alarms blared throughout the command center. Warren snapped awake, adrenaline surging. "Report!" "Commander Warren." Admiral KX's voice reverberated with barely held-back fury. "You will withdraw your forces immediately. Your presence here violates countless treaties." Warren snarled. "With all due respect, Admiral, we're here at the Barzan's request. Your precious council sat idle while the Krill butchered them. You have no right to interfere now. You forget yourself, human." KX's eyes flashed. "The council's authority is absolute. Remove your ships, or we will remove them for you." The transmission cut off, leaving Warren fuming. His fist clenched as he stared at the tactical display. Human warships and the Council Armada faced each other across the void, weapons primed. "Sir?" his XO asked nervously. "Your orders?" Warren's gaze hardened as he considered the situation. The Barzan forces were in no shape to resist the Council's demands, and Warren knew a direct confrontation would lead to catastrophic losses on both sides. Reluctantly, he made his decision. "Begin withdrawal procedures," Warren ordered. "But make sure they know this isn't over." As the human fleet prepared to depart, Warren cornered Orin in a bombed-out corridor. "I know what you did," Warren growled, looming over the Barzan. "Contacting the Council behind my back? I should have you shot for treason." Orin's tentacles trembled, but he stood his ground. "I did what I had to do to save my people. From the Krill, and from you." Warren's eyes blazed. "This isn't over, General," he snarled. "Humanity will not be constrained forever. Your council has delayed the inevitable, nothing more. We'll be back, and next time, the galaxy will be ours for the taking." He stormed off, leaving Orin alone in the rubble. The Barzan general sagged against a crumbling wall, a cold dread settling in his hearts. What had he unleashed? What terrors would humanity bring when they returned? As Warren's flagship rose into the atmosphere, engines thundering, Oren made a silent vow. He would do whatever it took to ensure humanity remained contained. The fate of the galactic realm might well depend on it. A new era dawn's Oren's footsteps echoed through the ruined corridors of the Barzan capital as he made his way to the emergency session of the High Command. His hearts raced, Warren's chilling words replaying in his mind. We'll be back, and next time, the galaxy will be ours for the taking. The makeshift war room buzzed with tension as Oren entered. His fellow generals, their face tentacles twitching with anxiety, fell silent at his approach. Without preamble, Oren activated a holographic display. Esteemed colleagues, he began, his voice grave, what I'm about to reveal will shake the foundations of our understanding. Ancient texts materialized in the air, followed by DNA strands and archaeological images. Oren's tentacles danced across the controls, bringing up file after classified file. Humans are not the saviors we believe them to be, he continued. They are a plague we unwittingly unleashed upon ourselves. For hours, Oren presented the damning evidence. He showed them grainy footage of human warships obliterating entire planets, read accounts of species driven to extinction by Earth's relentless expansion. The room grew colder with each revelation. General Kazna, her scales dulled with stress, was the first to speak. This cannot be true. The Council. Humanity will lead us to greatness. We've all seen what they can do, another general murmured. But what choice do we have? They saved us from the Krill. They saved us, Oren snapped, only to claim the galaxy for themselves. We cannot allow this to happen. Debate raged through the night, voices raised in anger, fear, and disbelief. But as the enormity of the situation sank in, a grim consensus emerged. The humans had to be stopped, before it was too late. In a narrow vote, the resolution of severance passed. Earth would be erased to preserve galactic peace. As the grim news sank in, Oren retreated to his quarters. He stared out at the stars, wrestling with the weight of what he'd set in motion. His comm unit chirped, a secure message from a human contact on one of the soon-to-be dismantled colonies. Oren's hearts raced as he read the desperate plea for help. In that moment, he knew he couldn't let this happen without giving humanity one last chance. With trembling hands, he began composing a warning message to Earth. If he could get it past the Council's communication blackout, maybe, just maybe, humanity could prove itself worthy of redemption before it was too late. Oren's fingers flew across the console, encoding the warning message with every encryption algorithm he knew. His heart pounded as he initiated the transmission, praying it would penetrate the Council's communication blackout. Summon the War Council, Oren barked into his comm. We don't have much time. Within hours, Earth's top military and scientific minds huddled around a holographic display, poring over the data Oren had risked everything to send. The room fell deathly silent as they uncovered the horrifying truth of humanity's origins. General Chen banged his hand on the table. So the Council wants to judge us for crimes committed before we even achieved sapience? Hypocrites! Sir, a young scientist interjected, with this alien data, we might be able to... Whatever it takes, Chen cut him off. I want every scrap of confiscated tech analyzed and weaponized. We will not go down without a fight. The next days passed in a blur of feverish activity. In the icy wastes of Antarctica, a massive superweapon took shape. Orbital shipyards churned out makeshift warships, dripping with hastily adapted alien tech. Earth's forces were preparing for a war that would determine the fate of the galaxy. As the final preparations were made, General Chen addressed his assembled officers. Make no mistake, this is a fight for our very survival. The Council thinks they can wipe us out, but they have no idea what they're up against. We are humanity, and we will not be erased. As Earth's fleet assembled in orbit, ready to face the combined might of the Galactic Council, one thing was certain: this would be a war unlike any other, and its outcome would shape the future of the galaxy for millennia to come. The battle for survival Admiral Korax watched in stunned disbelief as his fleet was decimated by Earth's makeshift warships. Impossible. he muttered. How could they have... His words died in his throat as a massive object accelerated from Earth's southern pole. The cosmic ram tore through the alien formation, obliterating millions in an instant. General Chen's face appeared on every view screen in the battered council fleet, his eyes burning with cold fury. You came to exterminate us, he snarled, but instead you've awakened a sleeping giant. Withdraw now, or watch as we turn your own weapons against you. World by world, Earth's forces pushed back the Council's armada, their human tenacity and ingenuity overwhelming even the most advanced alien technology. The galaxy trembled as the tide of war turned in humanity's favor. On the distant Barzan colony of Tauren, Orin watched helplessly as his people fell victim to Earth's relentless advance. Incendiary weapons ignited entire forests, clearing the way for human encampments. In the capital, angry mobs filled the streets, their chants echoing through the air. Orin the betrayer! Orin the fool! Orin knew he was to blame. His desperate plea for human assistance had unleashed a force far more dangerous than the Krill. Now his people were paying the price. As Earth's forces closed in on Tauren, Orin received an urgent transmission from Admiral Korax. General, we need to discuss our options. The Council is in disarray, and Earth's forces are advancing faster than we anticipated. If we don't act now, the entire galaxy could fall under their control. Orin's heart sank as he read the message. He had to make a choice, continue to fight a losing battle, or broker a deal with Earth that might save what little remained of the Barzan alliance. With a heavy heart, Orin replied, "Prepare for negotiations. I'll be at the rendezvous point in 2 hours." The meeting took place on the bridge of Korax's flagship, far from the prying eyes of the Council. As Orin and Korax debated their next move, Earth's forces continued their advance, overwhelming planet after planet with brutal efficiency. "We need to stop this madness," Korax insisted, his crystalline form glowing with barely restrained anger. "If we continue to fight, we will only ensure our own destruction. The Council won't listen, but maybe Earth will." Orin nodded, though his hearts were heavy with doubt. "I'll talk to them, but we need a backup plan, just in case." Korax agreed, and the two commanders began laying out a strategy to safeguard the galaxy from humanity's growing power. But deep down, Orin knew that they were running out of time. Every moment they delayed, more lives were lost, more worlds destroyed. As Orin's ship angled into orbit, he composed a final message to Earth's leaders. "We offer you peace, but at a price. The galaxy is vast and there is room enough for all of us. But if you continue on this path, you will find that even the mightiest of empires can fall. Remember that." With that, he transmitted the message and waited, his heart pounding in his chest. The fate of the galaxy hung in the balance, and Orin could only hope that humanity would choose the path of peace over the path of destruction. The tides of war. The response came quickly, a terse transmission from Earth's Prime Minister, Akira. "We accept your terms, General Orin, for now." Orin exhaled slowly, a mixture of relief and dread flooding through him. The war had been averted, but at what cost? The galaxy would never be the same, and the shadow of humanity's power would loom over it for generations to come. As the terms of the truce were formalized, Earth's forces began their withdrawal from Barzan territory. The once proud Barzan worlds, now scarred by war, were left to rebuild in the aftermath of humanity's devastating campaign. But even as the last human warships departed, Orin knew that the peace was fragile, a temporary reprieve in a conflict that had only just begun. Humanity's hunger for conquest would not be... In the council chambers, the mood was tense as representatives from 1,000 worlds debated the future of the galaxy. Some argued for renewed efforts to contain humanity, while others, like General Orin, urged caution. "Humans are unlike any species we have ever encountered," Orin warned. "They are driven by a relentless will to survive, to conquer. If we are not careful, they will be our undoing." But his words fell on deaf ears. The Council, still reeling from the shock of humanity's ferocity, was paralyzed by indecision. They had relied on Earth to defeat the Krill, and now, faced with the prospect of confronting humanity, they hesitated. In the end, a compromise was reached. The Council would maintain a fragile peace with Earth while secretly preparing for the possibility of future conflict. But Orin knew that this was merely delaying the inevitable. The galaxy had changed, and the balance of power had shifted irrevocably. Back on Earth, Prime Minister Akira convened a meeting of his top military advisors. "We have secured our place among the stars," he declared, "but we must remain vigilant. The galaxy is vast, and there are many who would seek to challenge our authority. We cannot afford to let our guard down." As Earth's war machine continued to churn, producing ever more advanced weapons and warships, the seeds of future conflicts were sown. The truce with the Council was merely a pause in a much larger struggle, one that would determine the fate of the entire galaxy. Orin, now a weary and haunted figure, returned to the Barzan capital where he was met with a hero's welcome. But as he stood before the cheering crowds, he could not shake the feeling that he had made a terrible mistake. The humans had saved his people, but at what cost? The galaxy was now at the mercy of a species that knew no bounds, a force that would stop at nothing to achieve its goals. As the celebrations continued, Orin slipped away, retreating to the quiet solitude of his quarters. There he stared out at the stars, his heart heavy with the burden of his choices. He had saved his people, but in doing so, he had unleashed a power that could one day consume them all. The gathering storm in. The years that followed, the galaxy entered a period of uneasy peace. The Galactic Council, weakened by the war with the Krill and the subsequent conflict with Earth, struggled to maintain order among its member worlds. Many species, once loyal to the Council, began to question its authority, emboldened by humanity's defiance. On Earth, the truce with the Council was seen as a victory, a testament to humanity's strength and resilience. But beneath the surface, tensions simmered. The memory of the Krill War was still fresh, and many on Earth harbored deep-seated mistrust of the Council and its member species. Prime Minister Akira, now a revered leader, continued to push for the expansion of Earth's influence in the galaxy. "We have earned our place among the stars," he declared in a speech to the United Earth Parliament. "But we must remain vigilant. The galaxy is full of dangers, and we cannot afford to be complacent." As Earth's military continued to grow, so too did its ambitions. Colonies were established on distant worlds, and Earth's warships patrolled the farthest reaches of known space. The message was clear: humanity would not be constrained by the Council or any other force. But even as Earth's power grew, so too did the resistance to its dominance. In the shadows, a new alliance was forming, one that sought to challenge humanity's authority and restore the balance of power in the galaxy. Orin, now a reluctant leader of the resistance, worked tirelessly to build a coalition of species willing to stand against Earth. The memories of the Krill War and the devastation wrought by humanity's intervention were still fresh in the minds of many, and Orin knew that time was running out. In secret meetings on distant worlds, Orin and his allies plotted their next move. They knew that a direct confrontation with Earth would be disastrous, but they also knew that they could not stand by and watch as humanity tightened its grip on the galaxy. As the resistance grew, so too did the threat of war. Skirmishes erupted on the fringes of known space as resistance fighters clashed with Earth's forces. The galaxy teetered on the brink of a new and even more devastating conflict. Orin, haunted by the choices he had made, knew that the time for decisive action was drawing near. He had seen firsthand the destructive power of humanity, and he knew that if the resistance did not act soon, it would be too late. But even as he prepared for the coming battle, Orin could not shake the feeling that he was walking a dangerous path. The resistance was strong, but so too was Earth's resolve. And in the end, Orin knew that the fate of the galaxy would be decided not by weapons or warships, but by the choices of a few individuals, each driven by their own hopes, fears, and desires. As the storm clouds of war gathered on the horizon, Orin stood at the edge of a precipice, knowing that the next step he took could change the course of history forever. The final confrontation. The battle for the galaxy had begun. On the distant world of Gorak, the forces of the Resistance and Earth's military clashed in a conflict that would determine the fate of countless civilizations. The skies above Gorak were filled with the roar of engines and the crackle of energy weapons as warships from both sides engaged in a deadly dance of destruction. Orin, now at the helm of the Resistance fleet, directed his forces with a calm determination. He knew that this battle would be their last chance to stop humanity's relentless advance. The stakes could not be higher, and every decision he made could mean the difference between victory and annihilation. On the surface of Gorak, the fighting was even more brutal. Resistance fighters, a motley mix of species united by their shared hatred of Earth's tyranny, fought with a desperation born of necessity. Every inch of ground was contested, every building and hilltop a potential stronghold. The air was thick with the acrid stench of burning metal and scorched earth. In the heart of the battle, Commander Warren led Earth's forces with a ruthless efficiency. His warships cut through the Resistance fleet like a scythe, leaving destruction in their wake. But even as victory seemed within his grasp, Warren knew that the Resistance was far from defeated. Orin, ever the strategist, had one final card to play. As Earth's forces pressed their advantage, the Resistance fleet began a calculated retreat, drawing Warren's warships into a carefully laid trap. Orin had anticipated Warren's tactics, and now the time had come to spring the trap. Now! Orin barked into his comm, and at his command, the Resistance warships unleashed a devastating barrage of concentrated fire. The trap had worked, and Warren's warships, caught in the crossfire, were torn apart by the onslaught. But even as the tide of battle turned, Orin knew that their victory was far from assured. Earth's forces were still powerful, and they would not go down without a fight. The battle raged on, each side determined to emerge victorious, no matter the cost. As the fighting intensified, Orin received a transmission from Admiral Korax, who had joined the battle with a fleet of reinforcements. "We have a chance to end this, General," Korax said, his voice filled with urgency. "We need to target their command ship. If we take out Warren, the rest of their fleet will fall apart." Orin knew that Korax was right. Warren was the linchpin of Earth's military, and without him, their forces would be in disarray. But getting to Warren would not be easy. His command ship was heavily fortified, and the Resistance fleet had already taken heavy losses. "We have no choice," Orin replied, steeling himself for what was to come. "We go for the command ship. All ships concentrate fire on Warren's position." The Resistance fleet converged on Warren's command ship, their weapons blazing. The battle reached a fever pitch, with warships from both sides locked in a deadly struggle for supremacy. The fate of the galaxy hung in the balance, and Orin knew that there could be no turning back. As the Resistance fleet closed in on Warren's command ship, Orin gave the order to launch their final attack. The warships unleashed a barrage of fire, hammering the command ship's shields with everything they had. Warren's ship buckled under the assault, its shields failing, and Orin knew that the end was near. With a final desperate push, the Resistance warships broke through Warren's defenses, their weapons tearing into the heart of the command ship. Warren's ship was engulfed in a blinding explosion, the shockwave rippling through the battlefield. As the debris settled, Orin's comm crackled to life. "The command ship is down," Korax reported, his voice filled with a mixture of relief and exhaustion. "Warren is dead. We've done it." Orin slumped back in his command chair, the weight of the battle finally lifting from his shoulders. The Resistance had won, but at a terrible cost. The battlefield was littered with the wreckage of warships, the bodies of countless soldiers, and the shattered hopes of a galaxy that had been torn apart by conflict.